Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. And if other folks come in a little bit later, that's fine too. My name is Titus Peachey, and I'm a member of the steering committee for the Peaceful Options for Training and Careers project. And I think, as many of you know, it's a project of Mennonite Central Committee and Mennonite Church USA. Mennonite Church USA is actually our fiscal sponsor, so we are not our own separate 501c3, but they have agreed to do the fiscal sponsorship work, for which we're very grateful. This project, our goal is to help young adults explore meaningful and viable alternatives to military enlistment. So unlike a number of other sort of peace-focused programs or projects within the church, it's not so much focused on education within our group, although I think if we do that well, that will certainly happen. But it's outward facing out toward the public in general, especially young adults coming out of high school, trying to make sure that they have the kind of information they need and the guidance that they need in order to find good, viable options for post-high school experiences that don't involve military service. So it's outward facing, but as we engage with our communities and young adults, I think that will require some education and introspection as well. So that will have that element to it. We're very small tonight, so we can be fairly informal. I will certainly allow opportunity here and there for questions that you might have. But if things come up in the meantime, you just wave your hand and you can unmute yourself and ask the question that you have. It is being recorded for purposes. I know there are some folks who said they couldn't be here, but they'd love to see a recording. But if you're uncomfortable showing your face, you can always just turn off the video. But we'd love to see you if that's okay with you. So what we'd like to do to begin with is we have three presenters, myself and Joy and Abby. We'd like to each just take a moment to say what it is, who we are, where we're located, what we're doing now, and then just take a brief moment to indicate what it was that we did after we graduated from high school. And since we're very small, if you all would like to share that as well from your own experience, that would be interesting. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm Titus. I am now retired, living in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Worked for many years for Mennonite Central Committee as a peace educator. And when I graduated from high school, I took a gap year. I worked in a local cabinet shop, sanding doors and varnishing cabinets to earn some money. And I also went to a Bible Institute for about 3 months during that gap year. And then following that, I went to college. So that was my post-high school experience. So let's go next to Joy.
Hi, I'm Joy. I'm located in Orlando, Florida. Kind of in between jobs right now. Still trying to figure out what to do next. And I directly went to the Air Force Academy after high school, and as I'm sure you can probably guess, I came to regret that. So that's kind of a little bit what I'll be talking about today.
And I should also mention that Joy does social media work for the POTC project. So that's her direct connection to our work here. Okay, thanks, Joy. Abby?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Abby Endishaw, here in Dallas, Texas, but I'm from Denver, Colorado. I first moved to Dallas straight after high school. My dad's a pastor. I wanted to be a pastor. I was really looking for connection and belonging in Christian community. So I went to a college, Dallas Baptist University, between 2013 and 2018. Can imagine what was happening in the world at that time. It was a tough experience. I too came to regret my decision, but the Lord works in mysterious ways, and today I am better for it.
And Abby is a member of our steering committee. So yeah. this webinar is primarily focused toward Atlantic Coast Conference folks, but I wanted to bring several other members of the steering committee in as well, if possible. Angelique or Bob or Fred, do either of you want to share anything about what you did after high school?
I'm happy to share.
Yeah.
So after high school, I took a gap year myself. I actually worked in childcare, and then I went on to college, first community college, and then 4-year university. And that was many, many moons ago. So yeah, that's what I did after high school.
And where are you located now, Angelique?
I am in Lancaster County, PA.
Okay.
We're neighbors.
We are neighbors. Great. Well, thanks. Bob, I see you're unmuted.
Yes. My name's Bob. I'm also in Lancaster, and I'm a member of East Chestnut Street Mennonite Church, which is where I met Titus. And after high school, I went straight to Goshen College. I was a graduate of Goshen High School and Goshen College. I was one of those people that was the fortunate age when there was no draft.
Okay. Squeak through. Yeah. How about you, Fred? Need to unmute yourself if you can. And I know Fred has some technology issues. He's also a member of our steering committee and got kicked off our meeting a number of times. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm using the better of my two computers, and this one, on this one, the camera does not work.
Okay.
So it's just my voice. After high school, small high school, Northwest Ohio, I went directly to Bluffton College, and my first year was pretty good. It was really, really very good. My second year was not so good, and that's when I started asking myself some questions about direction and so forth. And at that point, I decided to drop out of college and do some voluntary service work.
All right. Sounds like he's having the same trouble he did earlier.
Somewhere.
There you go.
Got it?
Yeah.
Where did I leave off?
You decided to do something after your second year, some service work.
Okay, I decided to do some service work, and I looked at 3 organizations and decided to go with Mennonite Central Committee to Central Africa, to the Congo, and I worked in an agricultural program there for 2 years.
All right.
And then I came back and almost transferred to Ohio State, but went back to Bluffton and finished a 4-year degree there.
All right. Great. Well, this helps us think about the age group that we're working with in our POTC project. Young adults coming out of high school, making decisions about life. So that's our focus. So we'd like to talk a little bit now about why we feel like the Peaceful Options for Training and Careers project is important. And a little bit later, then I'll get onto the website and share the screen with you and take you on a little tour. But let's begin with Joy on why do you think POTC is important, Joy?
So the biggest reason that this organization is important is because a lot of people coming out of high school, if you've heard of the poverty draft, that is actually a very real thing that happens. Recruiters target low income areas, which generally tend to be higher density of minorities in these low income areas. And the military preys on those young children who don't have any other option other than to go into the military. It is perfectly legal for recruiters to lie to the people that they're trying to recruit. I don't think these are like new things that I'm talking about. It's probably sounding very familiar to anybody who has experience with the military at all. But the thing is, like, even kids who know that the military is bad might not necessarily have a choice to, if they don't know what else is out there for them. Colleges are only getting more expensive. It's difficult to find a job in this environment. And with the new administration, particularly, it's very much pigeonholing young people into having to choose the military. So the purpose of this project is, of course, to offer counseling and to allow somebody to explore different options, because there are a lot of different options. It's just that they're maybe not as well advertised, or they might be a little bit more daunting than just go to a recruiter's office and sign all these papers. So that's kind of what the big point of this is to really help these kids out and be a constant guide, to help them understand what else might be available to them. We could even like doing personality work. So if somebody is very extroverted and likes working with people, we can offer some different career inspiration that they might not have otherwise thought about. Or if somebody wants to learn trades, we can help them figure out how to get into an apprenticeship program, and help them through the application process. If someone wants to help people, well, here's 500 other things you could be doing other than joining the military and blowing up poor kids in other countries. So there's a lot of different spokes to that. And a lot of groups do great work as far as like the military is terrible, you shouldn't join up. But what our group really, like the niche that we fill, is now that they know the military is terrible, what's that next step? The next step is to help them and counsel them to be able to find and choose something different. So that's one of the big reasons. I might have gone off on a big spiel there, but that's the pitch.
Why don't you take the opportunity now to just talk a little bit about your journey out and how you discovered that it was not for you, Joy?
Well, I didn't agree. Like, I joined the military because I thought that that was the right thing to do, and I came out of it understanding that that wasn't the case. My situation is a little bit tricky because I'm not sure if something could have convinced me out of being part of the military. But there was a lot of different factors that kind of played into that decision. But the big reason I left was because I realized that the US wasn't doing what I thought it had been doing, which is defending peace and justice or whatever. And so, as soon as my understanding of the world changed, what I was doing with my life changed.
And what was your discharge route or path?
I left as a conscientious objector.
Okay, great. Abby, why is this project important?
This project is important because young adults, youth are seeking purpose, and we have the capacity, based on our faith commitments as Mennonites, based on our connection to young adults, based on our various roles that we have in our community, to offer folks alternatives. And it's POTC primarily focused on offering alternatives in terms of career, service, and learning opportunities. As my kind of encouragement and something I wanted to highlight is that when I think of my story, I was searching for belonging and purpose. That is what guided my decision. I also couldn't have been told different from what I had thought at the time. And so I do think it starts early. It starts early communicating. I think it's an act of discipleship to communicate, to help folks understand like our biblical truth, spiritual conviction, and civic responsibility as well, and creating places for belonging out that are just as meaningful and purposeful. So I would like for us as a Mennonite church, as community members, as folks in this society where our country has too much power over the rest of the world, I would like for us to explore what it looks like to tell a different story about what matters, practice the co-empowerment where there's different things that you can do to make an impact in your society and in your community, and you matter in other ways. There's ways that you matter. There's a difference that you can make and that we can make together. I think offering that place of belonging. So this is my spiritual conviction. This is my conviction as a human and as someone who works with young adults with MCC. And so that's why I was attracted to the work of POTC.
Thank you. Yeah, and that belonging piece, I think, is one thing that the military preys on or likes to tout, especially for young people that don't feel like they have that. You can join the military and be part of the group and belong. So emphasizing that other ways to do that would be important. In terms of my own experience about why POTC is important, for many years I worked at Mennonite Central Committee doing peace education. And during that time, I became a counselor on the GI Rights Hotline. That's an 800 number that anybody in the military who's active duty or in the reserves can call if they're having difficulty with something in their command or in their experience. And they need some information, some help about the regulations or command practices or what their options are. And I've been doing that for about 25 years. And again, this is for active duty folks, not for veterans. So we often on the hotline get calls from young people who have enlisted. They talked to a recruiter when they were in their last year of high school. They signed the paperwork and they're been assigned a date, maybe in the fall, to go to basic training. And then in that interim time of a number of months, things happen in their life that make them question their enlistment and they change their mind. And so then they call the hotline and they say, I already enlisted, but I don't want to go. I'm really upset. I feel like I'm trapped in this life path that I don't want to take. What are my options? What can I do? And it was because of my connection to those calls that I realized that it would be really great if we could catch some of those folks before they ever enlist and help them find other options so they don't feel this trapped don't have this trapped experience. I'll talk more about this later, but one of the things I hope all of you will learn is that if someone is in that situation, they haven't gone to basic training yet, they don't have to go. And there's no negative consequences to that. It's a little more complicated if they've enlisted in the National Guard, but I'll say more about that a little bit later. So it's out of those experiences and phone conversations with people calling the hotline that I really felt it was important to try to construct something, some avenue, some path, some way to reach out to young people and be able to provide information that can help them go in a different path. Plus, I never felt like it was quite fair if a young person, if what they really wanted was funding for college, it wasn't fair to make them sign up for 8 years in the Marines in order to get it, because that exposes them to a lot of other risks that they wouldn't have to have if they didn't enlist. So for young people, particularly whose primary goal is money for college or some kind of meaningful service experience or belonging, there are other ways to get that. So I was pleased to be able to help launch POTC for that reason. So let's just pause here for a minute and see if any of you have questions you'd like to ask about what you've heard so far before we go look at the website. And if not, we'll move on. Okay. I am going to try to share the screen. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. This is our website. Perhaps you've already been there. I don't know, but I thought we'd take just a brief tour. As you can see, there's some contrasting pictures here at the top with some questions. Thinking about military enlistment, but worried about what war would be like. Why not explore other options? And these questions and images change from time to time. Then as you scroll down, it gives you an opportunity to look at some alternatives, request career counseling, check out what some of the frequently asked questions are, as well as understand more about us and who we are. But I'd like to begin by just looking briefly at our alternative options page. We have some information here about alternatives to the military from various other organizations, such as Project Llano, Center on Conscience and War, Peaceful Careers, that allows kids to get an idea of what some other options are. And then we have resources that help students find educational scholarships or grants, as well as service opportunities if they're interested in doing some community service. We feature both public things such as AmeriCorps, as well as some private options related to some of our church institutions. And I know that some of these opportunities are a little more dicey now, particularly AmeriCorps, because of the way funding has been pulled back for some of these programs. But as far as I know, at least some part of AmeriCorps is still functioning. And then finally, we provide information on jobs, job trainings, and apprenticeships. This is just sort of a starter kit of information, ways that young people can explore other options. We have something I'll explain more later. We have a group of about 8 to 10 counselors scattered around the country that have more information that when young people contact us, we can provide additional information to what is available on the web. But we wanted to provide at least some information on the web so that young people can get a start even before they talk to us. Secondly, we have a frequently asked questions section. This helps describe what it is that Peaceful Options for Training and Careers can offer. And then also some things about military enlistment to help young people understand some of the realities and risks of enlisting in the military. And the one question that I already alluded to is, if I enlist, but I change my mind, can I withdraw? And the answer is yes. So that's something that's important for all of you who work with young people to be aware of. Young people enlist in the delayed enlistment program, delayed entry program. And if they do change their mind, they can call the GI Rights hotline. The number's right there. They can go to the hotline website and a counselor will talk to them and sort of walk them through the process of how to withdraw with no negative consequences. Just today, Fred relayed the story about how long a military enlistment is. He talked to a young person that was getting ready to graduate from high school and was planning to go to the Navy. And Fred asked him how long he signed up for, or how long his obligation is. Well, he thought it was maybe 2 years. Well, it's actually 8 years total. Often at least 3 or 4 years active duty, and then another 4 years in the reserves with some kind of potential obligation to be called back. So we feel it's important for young people to have a sense of some of the realities of military enlistment and get those questions answered. We also have among our counselors a military veteran who could talk with them directly if they have questions. We also have a set of resources. We have a study guide that you can use if you have a young adult or a youth Sunday school class in your church or house of worship. This is kind of a 1 session or 2 session. It could be divided into 2 sessions. Introductions to POTC, introduction to the website, and it involves some role playing to help young people figure out how it might be that they could talk to their friends at school, at high school, about alternatives to enlistment in the military. So that's available for use in your church or house of worship. Now let's see. Okay. The top of my screen bar, my task bar, is hiding my navigation. There we go. We also have here postcards. These postcards are a really handy way that young people in high schools could share this with their friends. If they see their friends talking to a military recruiter, or they know their friend is interested in military enlistment, they could just hand this postcard, which introduces them to POTC and some of the resources and options that we have. and asks a couple questions or has them think a little bit more deeply about that option. So those are available. You can order them online, or if you have the capacity to print a postcard, you can also just download it for printing yourself. And we also have stickers that young adults can put on their backpacks and computers. This sticker is not very attractive. We're getting 2 or 3 more made, and they should be up on the website within the next couple of weeks. And again, it's a way for kids in high school to kind of spread the news about POTC with their friends in a very kind of low-key way. But these are sort of handy tools that they can use to begin the conversation. And then we also have online a set of stories. These are video stories from young adults who have already gone through high school, made their choice. Here's a story about Elliot, who went off and became an apprentice to do welding. He's now being employed as a welder. Isaiah decided to both work and go to community college at the same time in order to reduce costs. There's stories of a couple people who managed to figure out how to pay for college on their own. Sarah went to college, but wished she had taken a gap year. There's a story here from Joy about her conscientious objection journey out of the military, and a story from Scott about some of his experiences during the, I forget if it was the Gulf War or the Iraq War, I think the Iraq War, and how he feels now about that experience. So different stories here that young people can look at and gain inspiration from, as well as information. So that's another side of this that's available. And we have a real appeal here. If you know of young people, or if you yourself has a story about your post-high school experience that could be inspirational or helpful to other young people, we'd love to hear it. We're always looking for new material, ways to offer those kinds of resources to young people. So that's what's on our resources page. And then finally, let me go back to the home page here. Young people can request career counseling or connection with an advisor. We know that there are many young people that probably don't need this because they have connections with their family or church community or youth advisors or guidance counselors in high school, but there are always some who do and don't have that kind of connection and would welcome some additional help. And as Joy mentioned, recruiters come and all you got to do is sign this paper and they take care of all the arrangements and do it for you. So it makes it seem easy. Well, we have a group of 8 or 9 advisors scattered around the country that have worked through some training on helping young people with different options. And so if there's a young person that would like some help, they can click on this box saying, yes, they're over 18. And they can fill out this little form that provides their name, says what kind of interests they have, what they would like some help with, and how they would like to be in touch with an advisor, either by phone, text, or email. And then they could submit that, and we can be in touch with them within 48 hours. This has been up for a good while. We're not getting contacts yet this way. We're not quite sure what all the reasons for that are, but one of the things that we're trying to work very hard on is more kind of in the community, on the ground contacts and interactions and connections with people so that this project is better known. We get more postcards, stickers into the hands of young people or in places where young people congregate. It could be rec centers or various youth outreach programs. I know the YMCA, YWCAs exist in many places. Anywhere where we have relationships, where young people collect and gather, would be a great way for us to extend our, to put feet on our connections rather than relying only on the internet. So that's kind of the phase we're in now, to grow those connections locally in a more organic kind of way. So if you have those connections locally And Bob and Angelique, you're both here in Lancaster. I would be delighted to talk with you both about connections you might have in ways that we might do more of that kind of thing here in Lancaster. And I know Fred is already working on that in Columbus. So that's a brief introduction to our website, the curriculum, the postcards, the stickers, the resources in terms of stories, and then the frequently asked questions, the other options for education, service, and job training, and the connection to an actual advisor as an option. So I don't know, Joy, do you want to say a little bit more now about our social media? I'll stop sharing the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think the yeah, let me pull it up really quick. So we've been most active on our Instagram. But I am gonna stomp what Titus said, which is that we really need people out there spreading the word. Sure, anyone who has come in contact with any kind of social media knows how miserable it can be sometimes to work with. So we're thinking about a couple of things that we can do. For instance, we're talking about like advertisements and we're talking about collaborations. But really what we kind of need to do is get an audience. That's our biggest goal right now. And I mean, these things take time, so I don't want that to come off as like, oh, it's so terrible or anything like that. These things take time. So this is kind of where we've been starting up right here. Each post represents about a week. So actually, if there's a few things. One is that if you're part of any groups that do work like this, that do kind of, I know that Titus mentioned a couple, and we're reaching out to see if we can have some collaborative efforts. I think there's a lot of like scared straight programs out there, like where the people from the military will go in and tell other people how terrible the military is. But like I mentioned, that's not enough anymore. Not with the financial chokehold that capitalism has on people. So what we need is like that's why we need this kind of niche. But if no one knows about it, then they can't do anything about it, right? So
I should just
are you
explain,
sharing?
Joy, these
Am I
were
sharing?
Instagram posts, correct?
Yeah, am I sharing the Instagram
Yeah,
post?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this is 1, 2, 3. This is about 6 weeks of our account being up. If anyone's on Instagram, what's really helpful is commenting and liking. If you're not on Instagram, but if you are on Instagram, helping to get engagement up and for people to like see it, that's helpful. We're also, I think I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about maybe like throwing a little bit of money into advertising just to see if we can get a little bit of interest that way. Right now we took some of the videos and we're turning those into posts, as well as we're taking some different careers that people might not know about and turning those into posts. And so there's already a little bit of information on here. Here's a post about our postcard resources. And we're just kind of trying to keep it active right now, while we're also exploring other avenues of getting engagement. So this is the username right here, this up here. And I can also drop the link in the chat in case anybody desires to check it out themselves. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect there's a few other aspects of it. We have a listserv that is email based, and actually if I pull up the website, actually I can't remember. Did you go over the subscribe button?
No, I did not.
Okay. All right, let me pull up the screen again. So this right here, the subscribe button, if you go onto the home page of the website, and you scroll down here, under connect, the subscribe button, you can just kind of hit that. And it should open up, it'll open up in another tab, which I can't actually see if it did or not right now. But oh, there it goes. It should open up another tab. And basically you just go through, fill out your information, and you'll be able to get emails from us when we do email blasts. Those are a little slow right now too. We have a few things in the works that we still need some final approval for. But we're pretty excited to start rolling those out and think that that'll be a pretty easy way to get engagement. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say what it is right now or not, but we do have things in the works that we're trying to roll out to offer more tangible stuff than just like a couple Instagram posts.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about it a little bit. I mean,
Okay,
I was
cool.
going to mention it, just didn't get, but go for it.
It sounds like we're gonna be able to get support to offer a scholarship to kids, since financial barriers do tend to be the #1 reason, maybe aside from like patriotism or whatever, to it seems to be the biggest barrier to getting into college, and one of the main reasons why a lot of people go into the military, like even at the Air Force Academy, which is a prestigious school. A lot of people were there for preschool. So we're hoping to get a scholarship up and running as well, to not only say like, you should consider doing these other things, but we will also help you pay for it. And we're kind of talking. And so first step is securing the funding, and the second step is determining how to hand that out. But we're pretty excited about that. But yeah, like Titus said, the biggest thing is just kind of getting kids to know that this kind of programming exists, and that this kind of help exists. And then from there, hopefully we'll be able to continue growing. So.
Okay, thanks. Let's take a few minutes now to open it up again. See if you have any questions about the website or what it is that we're working on now. Happy to take a few questions now if you'd like. I don't know if any of you in your working with young adults in your church settings ever come in contact with young adults that are thinking about military enlistment, or really need a lot of help in figuring out where to go, what to do, or if most of the ones you're in connection with seem to get that from their families.
Hey, Titus, this is Angelique.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention, as far as like connections in the community,
Mhm.
it strikes me that school counselors would probably be a really good population to get this information to.
Mhm.
They would be in a good position to be able to like hand out information for kids who are uncertain but are thinking about the military and are not certain of what else there might be. So school counselors is one thing I'm thinking of. And then the other thing I was thinking is that there is an organization that works with veterans in Lancaster County called Right Face, and it's WRITE. And these are veterans who write songs as a way to process like their military experience.
Mhm.
And I wonder if they might have connections
Mhm.
that they might be willing to kind of talk about, like what the military experience has done
Mhm.
to them, for them, and that this could be an alternative to military service.
Do you have any connections with them?
I do actually. There is, I'm a pastor of Pilgrims Mennonite in
Oh, okay.
Akron,
Yeah.
and one of our congregation members actually volunteers with Right Face.
Okay. I'll be in touch with you about that.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Questions? Okay. Brooke, I want to give you an option to talk before we close, but any further remarks from you, Abby, before we close down?
No further remarks from me.
Okay. How about you, Joy?
Yeah, I did forget to mention that we're working on handout, like resources to hand out. So if you have, like, because obviously we don't know what we might be missing in some of these resources. So if there's any topics or anything like that that you want information on to be able to hand out to people, we can do research and get something together and stick it on the POTC website.
Mhm. Thanks. Okay, Brooke is from Atlantic Coast Conference, and he was going to say a few words at the beginning, but got pulled away to a son's soccer game. So he's here at the end. So happy to hear a few words from you, Brooke.
Thank you. Sorry I couldn't be with you all in the morning. And one question that I just thought of that maybe you covered already, but do you have are there speakers in the Lancaster area who we could turn to talk about peace training in general, about conscientious objection, about the choice of pacifism and nonviolence and the theology, there's a whole bunch of different themes around these topics.
Mhm.
And I've done some of that with a couple of our youth groups.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if there are people who are kind of from your organization who are kind of on standby and ready for that kind of speaking engagement. I'm
Well,
thinking especially for a youth group, my youth
yeah,
group.
yeah. Well, that's not something that we've put energy into in this project. I mean, it used to be my job at MCC to do that, and I did a lot of that. I mean, I could still do some of that, although I'm quite involved at our church and with other projects, so we'd have to work at scheduling. MCC has peace staff, but many of them are dispersed. The one person who has the job that I used to have is now located in Goshen, Indiana, so he's not available locally. MCC has an East Coast office, and they have a peace and justice staff person, and that person is located in Virginia. So the MCC network does not have the people right here in Lancaster County that it used to in order to do that kind of thing. Yeah, Lorraine Stutzman-Amstutz from Mennonite Church USA is local, but her focus is much more on restorative justice, those kinds of issues, although she could certainly talk about this. But no, that's not something that we've put energy into as this project, because we're kind of national in scope and wanting to reach out nationally.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So if any of the others of you who are representing, I don't know what your background or who you're exactly representing besides maybe Angelique, but I'd be happy to talk about other options there if you'd ever be interested in having a speaker for your group. That's something ACC can probably provide as a conference. We can find someone to share in our youth groups. Atlantic Coast Conference does have a Peace Witness webpage. I'll put that link in the chat as well. Feel free to look down through that. I think we have a lot of resources that probably Titus you've put together over the years. Resources on conscientious objection, on details about selective service and draft, about the Peace and Justice Support Network, which is no more. So this should probably be looked at again, and conscientious objection to war taxes, different themes around these topics that we have kind of compiled there on the Atlantic Coast Conference website. And as you're looking through, if there's something there in particular that you're not finding, I'm sure either Titus or I could find, help answer questions, find what you're looking for, to share with our youth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all very much for joining us for the evening, and particularly those of us who are here in Lancaster. I'll be in touch with you. And Fred, I'm in touch with you anyway, even though you're all the way out there in Ohio, but because you're on our steering committee, we have good opportunity to connect. So hope you all have a good evening, and we'll be in touch. Have a good night.
Good night.
Night, everyone.